Okay, so yet another video. Today we're going to be making a set of door pods for my Chevy Silverado. This should be for pretty much any GM truck, full size, in the 2000 year. This big hole was my first attempt at putting an extra speaker in the door. It didn't go very well. So I went back to the drawing board, started really thinking about it, and I kind of came up with an idea. And that idea was basically to use the design of the speaker grill to make a standout so that the speakers will actually fit in the doors. So I started off by taking the speaker grill itself and laying it over some cardboard and just tracing it out and making a rough cutout. I figured this would give me a good template to start from. So once that was done, I took that piece of cardboard, set it in the door, and basically trimmed it out until it fit pretty nice and it looked halfway decent. There's a little bit of a gap here, but I can fill that in later on with some fiberglass. Once I was done getting the basic shape cut out, I went ahead and grabbed an old speaker that I had laying around and took it and flipped it upside down and basically traced out holes, trying to get an idea of how much room I would have to play with as far as placement of the speakers themselves. Basically, I'm putting in a 6.5 three-way and a 6.5 mid-range in each door, and they're going to be powered by a Legacy LA 700 amp. Once I was done with all of that, I decided to make a test cut to make sure that the speakers would fit. This little Dremel tool here came in super handy. I got it off of Amazon for like 13 bucks. So basically, I had some of this old laminate laying around. I used the Dremel tool to punch a hole in it and just verify that I had the correct diameter for a 6.25 inch speaker, which, if I remember correctly, was 5.5 inch opening size. So I went ahead and used the Dremel tool to cut these holes, and as you can see, it cut pretty damn good. It was actually really easy. Only left a couple little nicks here and there. Nothing a little bit of sanding won't take care of. With the holes cut, I went ahead and grabbed a couple of speakers and just popped them in there just to look at how it would be as a mock-up. Make sure that, the holes that I cut weren't too big or too small. Now that the left side is done, I'll go ahead and shoot some footage of how I did all the cuts on the right side so that you can see the little ins and outs here. I went ahead and used the negative from the first cut to use as a template to figure out where I wanted the speaker placed. Once I found my correct placement, went ahead and used the router to mark center line, and after that I'll go ahead and cut the actual speaker hole. I'll show you this process at double speed. So basically, after the baffle was cut, I decided to give myself a extra little bit of space, and I went ahead and cut a spacer, which I basically did by just cutting another baffle and then hollowing out the center. This would ensure that I had no clearance issues as far as the speakers fitting in the doors and the doors fitting back on the truck. To adhere the spacers to the baffles, I decided to use Loctite Power Grab. Most of the time people use wood glue or liquid nails, but I don't like waiting around for the drying time, so Power Grab's a good alternative. It's got about a 10-second bond time as soon as the parts are together, and it cures hard in 24 hours, I think. It kind of has the consistency of like RTV gasket maker, which makes it pretty easy to use. It spreads out very even with no tools, and it washes off with just soap and water, which makes cleanup pretty easy too. I'm going to go ahead and let this part of the video run at double speed. It's pretty self-explanatory. Put glue on it, clamp down, allow to dry. This stuff sets hard really fast, but I did let it sit for 20-30 minutes before I started actually mounting it to the door panels. As far as mounting them to the door panels, it worked out pretty well. Basically took the door and flipped it over on its face. I put the baffle underneath of it and supported it with a roll of blue tape just to kind of figure out how I was going to mount it. And I realized that the outside edge fit perfectly where the old grill slots were. So I basically decided to just drill some small pilot holes and use some 1-inch wood screws. This is kind of a mock-up, so I only put I don't know, 2 or 3 screws per door just to hold it in. You know, I have to get them mocked in and get the speakers in them and get them in the truck to make sure that they'll clear everything and the doors will be able to close and all that. So here they are mocked into the doors. I got to get them in the truck so I can test them for fit and function and make any adjustments that I need to make. It's a pretty simple little project. I'm not sure if I'm going to fiberglass them or just cover them with carpet and put speaker grills on them. I didn't want to do anything super duper fancy, but I'll definitely post a second part to this video to show you what the end result is. I just got my 6x9s that I'm going to be adding into the back, so we'll end up with at least a 9-speaker stereo in the truck. Maybe more if I decide to get the A-pillar tweeters working. Thanks for watching. Hit a like, hit a subscribe. We'll see you next time.